This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. In a first big breakthrough in 15 months long conflict, Israeli Security Cabinet on Friday approves Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India's auto market to witness unprecedented transformation and expansion, highlights factors driving future of mobility in India. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan gets 14-year prison from sentence in a land corruption case, while his wife Bushra Bibi gets 7 years prison sentence. First up, updates from the Israeli-Hamas conflict, with the Israeli Security Cabinet just a while back on Friday approved a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The agreement, which must now go to the full cabinet for a final green light. This decision involves the exchange of dozens of hostages held by Hamas, the militant group, for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and a temporary pause in the 15-month-long conflict. The Security Cabinet, remember, is a small body composed of senior members of the government, namely the Ministers of Defense, Strategic Affairs and few others. My colleague Jessica Taneja tracking this story very closely, joining us live from our DD India newsroom. Jessica, take us through the contours of the deal and what's the latest that you're picking up?
Sakal, just day before, when we were all waiting with bated breath on how will the ceasefire deal, which has come in after nearly 470 days of war that has gripped the entire Middle East, and certainly on anticipated lines, but of course coming with its own set of complications. But now with the Security Cabinet giving it an approval, of course, it's just going to be in the Parliament, and it will get ratified from there. Now, important to understand what all does the ceasefire deal currently offer. It is not different from what the Biden administration had proposed back in May last year. And it is somewhat an extension. That deal also saw exchange of hostages, but it was a short-lived one, and we saw what happened there, and the casualties still continued. And as we talk about the agreement on the ceasefire deal, the military occupation right now in West Bank continues, the military operations continue, and certainly the ceasefire deal is going to come as a relief, not just for the civilians in Gaza, but also for the people of Israel who've been waiting for the hostages. Now, in this particular deal, there are three phases. In the first phase, as is proposed in this initial agreement, would see the implementation of exchange of hostages deal, which would then mean that 33 Israeli hostages will be returned in place of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners with the Israeli authorities. And that would be a difficult thing to see, a difficult thing to implement, so to say, in the next coming days. But that has been agreed upon. The terms and conditions of those are still being worked on. So we don't have more details, but it does start on Sunday, which is tomorrow.
Okay.
Pardon me, day after, on the 19th. And the second phase and the third phase of the deal will only come into effect once the implementation of the first one is done, which would also require sending in aid trucks, approximately 500 of them every day, because the 2 million people who are now without houses and aid and water and basic sanitation supplies in Gaza are in dire need of that.
Right. Having said that, Jessica, this ratification comes after a delay of sorts, which also led to a lot of apprehensions that this deal would come unstuck. There would be roadblocks. So if now it passes to full cabinet for sign-off, is there a possibility that we could come up with a big surprise, or is it almost certain that all decks are cleared?
Well, it is a very complicated ceasefire deal to agree upon, given the current events of the United States with the new with the transition going to take place and Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th, which is Monday. And if the deal goes through, the hostages exchanges will start on Sunday. But yes, we still have a day before that where the parliament has to ratify that deal. And we've seen how problematic it has been for Benjamin Netanyahu back home, especially with pressures from his own government. But what is crucial and important to understand about the ceasefire agreement is the fact that it has only been agreed at this moment. Its implementation is going to be 10 times difficult than anticipated, because the overall deal is for 42 days. And only on the 16th day of the ceasefire, once it's reached the 16th day, will the implementation of the second and third phase go on. And in the second phase, there'll be withdrawal of troops. So that will be an even more complicated set of negotiations to follow, given how it's, given how Qatar, Egypt, United States, along with Jordan, have been able to pull off so far. But how much of it will hold in the future is the question.
Okay, finally, even though it has drawn fierce resistance from Netanyahu's far-right coalition partners, you also spoke about it. Will these objections or resistance or sort of reluctance from certain political quarters really matter? Would it be detrimental to destabilize his government?
But if you recall, Sakal, on the day the Qatar Prime Minister was to announce the ceasefire agreement, we'd already heard from the Trump, administration about how the ceasefire agreement has been historic. It's been achieved because Trump's promises during the election campaign on how he wants to end the war in West Asia, along with work in Ukraine. So this had led to the kind of fruition he had hoped and wanted. But then, just later this evening, the Qatar Prime Minister press conference was delayed by 2 hours for that announcement, although he did go ahead and announce it. But then there were reports suggesting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office and the security cabinet hadn't agreed yet or hadn't voted on it yet, and primarily because of the opposition from some of his coalition members, party members as well. For example, the National Security Minister, who threatened to resign if this deal goes ahead. There were reports suggesting to that effect as well. So yes, internally there's a lot of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu, particularly when it comes to the hostages, because that is not going down either with the polity or the public. That is not in favor of the current political landscape that Israel finds itself in.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Many thanks, Jessica Taneja of DD India, for joining us from Newsroom on this big international story and that crucial development. Thank you. In other news, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday welcomed the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Speaking at a press conference in Berlin, he said that all the hostages must be released and remains of the dead hostages must be handed over to the families.
It will be crucial for the agreement to be implemented consistently step by step. In the end, all the hostages must be released and the bodies of the dead hostages must be handed over to their families so that they can say their goodbyes in dignity.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Iranian counterpart Masoud Pezeshkian held talks in Moscow on Friday ahead of the signing of a strategic partnership treaty involving closer defense cooperation. Russian President highlighted that the discussion will cover vast areas of cooperation and a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement will be signed. Pezeshkian, on his first Kremlin visit since winning the presidency last July, also said that the two leaders will soon finalize an agreement on building a nuclear power plant in Iran with Russian help. 3 lawyers who acted for the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny were found guilty on Friday of belonging to an extremist group. They have been given jail terms of up to 5.5 years. Along with this, all 3 lawyers used to bring messages from the late opposition leader from prison to the outside world for several years. French President Emmanuel Macron met President Joseph Aoun and his Lebanese counterpart. Remember, this is his first in Beirut visit as a show of support for Lebanon's new leadership. It is the first foreign head of the state to visit Beirut since Aoun was elected and Nawaf Salam was designated as Prime Minister. Macron expressed his support to Aoun's goal of sovereignty, which the French leader says was precondition for a lasting ceasefire with Israel. Well, shifting focus to developments in Pakistan, former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, has been sentenced to 14 years in prison in a land corruption case by an anti-graft court on Friday. His wife, Bushra Bibi, has been handed over a 7-year prison sentence, and the verdict was delivered from a prison court near Islamabad. The case involves land transfer to a non-governmental welfare trust set up and managed by Khan and his wife solely. Well, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Coming up next, Singapore President arrives in Indian state of Odisha on a 2-day visit. And India will face Sri Lanka in the quarterfinals of the Kho-Kho World Cup in a short while from now.
उछलता है दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
रिटायरमेंट प्लानिंग के लिए तेरा एसआईपी के बारे में क्या ख्याल है?
रिटायरमेंट अभी तो पूरी लाइफ बाकी है यार।
और तुझे नहीं लगता अगर रिटायरमेंट के बारे में अभी से नहीं सोचे तो आगे जाके प्रॉब्लम होगी?
पर रिटायरमेंट के बारे में सोचना क्यों है इतना जरूरी? जब तक आप रिटायर हो जाएंगे महंगाई काफी ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगी और आपकी इनकम वो तो रुक ही जाएगी। इसीलिए आज ही म्यूचुअल फंड्स में एसआईपी शुरू कीजिए और हर महीने थोड़ा थोड़ा करके धन इकट्ठा कीजिए एक कंफर्टेबल रिटायर्ड लाइफ जीने के लिए। अधिक जानकारी के लिए अपने वित्तीय सलाहकार से परामर्श करें। LIC म्यूचुअल फंड द्वारा निवेशक शिक्षा की एक पहल। म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिम के अधीन है। योजना से संबंधित सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
You're watching DT India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Inaugurating the Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025, the largest mobility expo in India, in Delhi today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India's journey in the mobility sector would be a transformation one and is all poised to witness the exponential growth. Prime Minister also emphasized on greener and cleaner mobility technology. DD India's Tapash Bhattacharya gets us more.
The Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025, India's largest and most anticipated mobility event, kicked off in a grand style as India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated its second edition at Bharat Mandapam in India's national capital, New Delhi, on Friday. This year's theme, Beyond Boundaries, Co-creating future automotive value chain, underscores the power of collaboration, innovation and sustainability to revolutionize the global mobility landscape. PM Modi said that the journey of developed India in the mobility sector is set to be one of unprecedented transformation and is set to witness exponential growth.
भारत की सबसे बड़ी युवा आबादी, मिडिल क्लास का लगातार बढ़ता दायरा, तेजी से होता अर्बनाइजेशन, भारत में बन रहा आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, मेक इन इंडिया से अफोर्डेबल व्हीकल, ये सारे फैक्टर्स भारत में ऑटो सेक्टर की ग्रोथ को पुश करने वाले हैं, नई ताकत देने वाले हैं।
With a whopping 500,000 visitors expected to make footfall at the event, the Expo offers a glimpse into the future of transportation. From electric and hybrid vehicles to cutting-edge connected and autonomous technologies, the event has something for everyone. PM Modi also gave a mantra of 7 C's, which will reshape India's mobility solution.
बीते साल में भारत की ऑटो इंडस्ट्री करीब 12% की ग्रोथ से आगे बढ़ी है। मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड के मंत्र पर चलते हुए अब एक्सपोर्ट भी बढ़ रहा है। इतनी तो दुनिया के कई देशों की पॉपुलेशन नहीं है जितनी हर साल भारत में गाड़ियां बिक रही हैं। एक साल में करीब 2.5 करोड़ गाड़ियां बिकना ये दिखाता है कि भारत में डिमांड लगातार कैसे बढ़ रही है।
India now stands as an outstanding destination for every investor looking to shape their future in the mobility sector.
With innovation and sustainability at its core, Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 sets the stage for a transformative future in mobility. As global and Indian players collaborate, the Expo promises to redefine the way we move and connect. With camera person Monty, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
In other news, President of Singapore, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, on Friday visited the Odisha's World Skills Centre on his two-day official visit to the state. President Tharman's visit underscores the commitment of India and Singapore to strengthen their skill development partnership. The state visit also marks the commencement of the celebrations of the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between both the countries. MEA spokesperson Randir Jaiswal also provided an update on Indians serving in the Russian army, stating that out of 126 cases, 96 have returned to India after being discharged. He added that 18 Indian nationals remain with the whereabouts of 16 individuals currently unknown.
We have been in constant touch with Russian authorities for early release and repatriation of Indian nationals who are serving in the Russian army. As of today, of all the known cases that have come to us, we have had 126 cases. Of these 126 cases of people who were serving in Russian armed forces or are serving in the Russian armed forces, 96 people have already returned. They have been discharged. They have been discharged from the Russian armed forces. As per our available information, 18 Indian nationals in the Russian army remain. Out of these, 16 individuals, their whereabouts are not known, and the Russian side has categorized them as missing.
In a significant move to boost India's steel industry, Union Minister Ashnavi Vaishnav announced that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved a revival package worth 11,440 crore for Vizag Steel Plant or Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. This decision was taken at the cabinet meeting, keeping the strategic location of India's steel major at Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh in focus in particular. It has a unique advantage of being a port-based steel plant.
Honorable Prime Minister has approved a package of 11,440 crore rupees 11,440 crore rupees for revival of RINL, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. As we all know, RINL has a very special position in the entire steel industry, and with this revival package, many of the historical legacy problems that RINL used to face will be resolved. Simultaneously, a lot of effort is going to be put on securing the raw material for RINL and for modernization of the plant.
And now let's take a look at some stories making news around the world. We begin with Argentina, where a raging wildfire is forcing hundreds of evacuations in Patagonia in Argentina. Fueled by severe heat wave and strong winds, the blaze has already consumed thousands of hectares of land, destroying homes and threatening communities. So far, the evacuation of 200 families has been completed, while some 2,000 hectares of terrain destruction have been recorded. The 53rd Tamworth Country Music Festival of Australia has begun, with thousands of visitors visiting the iconic festival across the world. Tourists could be seen donning the classic Australian outfits with footy shorts, visiting the colourful exhibitions of ballads, musical instruments and country fashions. Belgian scientists are developing a synthetic smell of bones to assist cadaver dogs in locating long-lost skeletal remains. This innovation aims to address the limitations of current methods whereby there is a struggle to detect a faint scent of aged bones. And now updates from sports. India will face Sri Lanka in the quarterfinals of the Kho-Kho World Cup today. Earlier on Thursday, India continued their impressive run in the league stage, securing a commanding 71-34 win over Bhutan at the IG Indoor Stadium. The 39-point win margin reflects India's dominance in the match as they continue their unbeaten streak in the tournament. Team Netherlands is all set to take Kho-Kho fever back home after their maiden experience at the Kho-Kho World Cup in India. DD India's Abhishek Prasad caught up with the men's and the women's team members to know more about their exciting journey in Kho-Kho, their experiences and their plans to popularize this sport in Netherlands.
Team Netherlands is with me in the Kho-Kho World Cup. They didn't qualify for quarterfinals, but they are here with full of enthusiasm and zeal. What was your experience coming and playing in participating in the first ever Kho-Kho World Cup?
Oh, it was so good. We did expect to go to the finals, so it is a bit of a disappointment, but we gave everything we got. We trained very hard for this, and it was an amazing experience.
How did you people begin your journey in Kho-Kho? When did you heard about the sport?
Well, someone from the England ambassador, he contacted us and he said, well, do you know about Kho-Kho? Do you want to play Kho-Kho? And then we started playing and then we went to the World Cup.
Your experience playing in the first ever Kho-Kho World Cup?
Yeah, it was an honor to be here, to participate, to experience all this. And we all also lost all our games, but it was really a learning experience and we will be back stronger. So
we grew in the game. You could see it, yeah.
Yes, we did.
Because we never played a real match before. We just trained and we couldn't really train with the ball and the real field. So being here also taught us how it really works. So next time we'll be much stronger.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Kho-Kho is having its World Cup around, 23 nations have participated, 39 teams were there. So how do you look as the popularity of this sport that is growing?
Yeah, it's starting to grow in Holland. Like more people start knowing about it. Like radio come to us and ask us for interviews. So I think the public in Netherlands will be knowing what Kho-Kho is in the next few weeks.
So what is your future plan from after going to Netherlands? What will you do?
Well, I think what we heard is that in June there will be an European Championship, and everyone liked this so much, and we really loved our performance, and we want to take it to the next level. So the European Championship is going to be really exciting for us.
And it's going to be won by the Netherlands. Yeah.
Well,
you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
We will be
We're
there
all
competing.
really excited to continue playing Kho-Kho because that's what we told each other. Like it would be really sad if we stopped playing Kho-Kho now. So we're very determined to keep going.
So that was Team Netherlands, who have not qualified for the quarterfinals, but they are very determined to keep playing Kho-Kho as a sport. With cameraman Mukesh Kumar, Abhishek Prasad for DD India.
Well, clearly the excitement of Kho-Kho writ large on the Dutch team for sure. Staying with the World Cup, the inaugural Kho-Kho World Cup has united sports enthusiasts from diverse backgrounds, as we saw in that report also. And one fascinating story is also after Netherlands, this one is from US's Kho-Kho team captain Imran Khan, who wears two hats, that of a skilled Kho-Kho player and a scientist too. Abhishek Prasad gets us more.
Taking place at the IG Stadium in New Delhi, and around 39 teams from 23 nations are participating in this mega event. And right now with me is a USA player, Imran Khan, who also happens to be a scientist by profession. What inspired you to take Kho-Kho despite you being a scientist?
Yeah, so I was a lifelong athlete, soccer player, all throughout the national level in the United States. One of my former national level teammates was actually trying to start the first ever Irish national team. he put me into contact with Rohit Haldania of the International Cocoa Federation, and together we kind of worked out a way to build the United States Cocoa Association, and that was back in 2022. We were a little inactive for a while because we didn't know about upcoming events. As soon as we got the email about the first ever Cocoa World Cup, we were extremely excited, and that's when we started to train and really prepare for this event.
Is your scientific background is helping you in developing skills in your cocoa?
Yeah, I believe so. The power of observation is a really important aspect to being a scientist, and much of how we started our organization was just by watching videos online. We didn't have many people near us that had a lot of cocoa experience, so everything we learned was just by observing, and we really had that scientific studying mindset.
You talked about Ultimate Cocoa, and if the Ultimate Cocoa brings international players into the, would you be interested?
Our team would definitely be interested in sending players to Ultimate Cocoa. I know one of our players in particular, James Carew, has been very excited about the prospect, would love a chance to compete at that level. I believe cocoa has strong room for growth, especially in the United States. Like I said, I'm a scientist, and what we love is the cutting edge, the new, and I know cocoa has been around for a long time, has a long history, but in the United States it is newer, and so it's very exciting, and we're trying to build that as much as we can.
You mentioned about you being a scientist, so tell us about your key developments, innovations, and what's your journey in that profession?
Yeah, a lot of what I do is proprietary and confidential, so I can't speak too much, but we do work in a very cutting-edge field in drug discovery, really trying to revolutionize and speed up the way that we can develop drugs. My company has a lot of prospects coming up that I think the world will be really excited about.
So that was Ivan Krusho talking about the rise of cocoa and how they will be interested if an edition of Ultimate Cocoa plans to invite the international players. With cameraman Mukesh, Abhishek Prasad for DD India.
Clearly, Cocoa World Cup fever hosted by India has gripped the other global competitors as well, the participating teams. Well, with that, we need to wrap up this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.